last night we were gaming pretty late. We started around midnight and finished up around 4 a.m. At the end, I was ready to get off, but we had some good PvP runs with Sleazy and Provoked, and we'll try to rekindle that fire tonight. I wanted to show you guys one of the ARs I was able to pull out of a match off a dead guy. This match we had been going for a while, and all of my insured weapons were on cooldown. My contraband was getting a little worn, so I didn't have any great ARs to bring in. I prefer to bring in I'll bring in only one weapon to avoid the hand glitch. Hand glitch is when you lose either your primary or secondary. It's usually the primary, so I will usually just take in one weapon here, or if I'm without a bag, if I do have a bag, I'll stash my second weapon in the bag so to completely avoid the hand glitch. If you do that, you will not get that glitch anymore. You'll never lose a weapon again. You won't have to find a bot gun, find a bag, and do all that shenanigans. So you want to load in your weapon on that secondary slot, and that will it'll be very rare. You may still get the hand glitch, but it'll be exceedingly rare. But if you load in a weapon on that first slot, and especially if you load in two weapons, it seems like that hand glitch happens maybe about half the time. Probably not that bad, but I wanted to show you guys an AR. So on that round, the contraband stash was looking pretty grim, and the only ARs I had were I did have a couple tacks, but this one didn't have an extended mag on it. This one does, but it's only 40 versus the 60, which is preferable. This one also had the holotherm optic on there, so right off the bat, that one was, it's unusable for me with the holotherm optic. This one does have like a lone wolf optic, but it's not nearly as bad as the holotherm. It's still not great. You want to use your irons on the tack. Best sight picture in the game. The only other ARs I had were some hemlocks that I had picked up, but all of these hemlocks none of them had any optics on them, and if they did have an optic, it was like a holotherm like this. So and some of them had like the 300 blackout rounds. This is probably a setup that I killed this guy, took his AR, but he was probably using this as an underbarrel glitch, if I had to guess, without an optic on there. And with the underbarrel set up to drills, he could have been a legitimate player, but I can't remember. But I'll show you guys that sight picture that the hemlock comes with for the irons. It's not great, but I didn't have any good AR options. I didn't want to bring in a cast-off. I wanted a little bit more reach. This Advancer is, it has a really terrible optic on there, unusable. So anytime you're bringing in contraband, you're having to deal with whatever the guy gives you, whatever you were able to get out with if you weren't able to take it to a workbench in time before you extract. So if I were to bring in this weapon, I'd have to immediately run to a buy station to get to a workbench and start fixing this thing up, and that means I'm just carrying around a bunch of scrap metal in my hand until I can fix it up to get to a usable state. So I'm basically useless. I don't like to do that to myself or my teammates. You don't want to get killed with a 5 attachment weapon that you just can't use at the start of a match. So I was running around with an SMG I'd brought in, and I managed to secure a kill, um, and I ran over, or I managed to secure a down, and I ran over to finish the guy, and you know, 2 of his teammates were still up. We thought we maybe had another team collapsing on us. So my priority was to get myself a second weapon, um, just to get more damage output. I was looking for an AR. He did have he had this, um, he had an M13 in his bag, but you can see with some of these weapons, uh, it'll show it has 5 attachments, but it won't show exactly which attachments it has. And you'll either have to pick it up or drop it on the ground to see what attachments are on it and see if it's usable or not. And this M13 that he had, he had it set up very poorly, and I'll try to remember and reconstruct what he had it set up as. I left the monolithic suppressor that he had on there just for the damage range and bullet velocity that a suppressor gives you. But he had a short barrel. He had a red dot optic on it, and he had like some kind of stock option, and it was just set up very very poorly. And I'll show you what it was like. It was let's see. So let's see. He had a monolithic suppressor. He did have a laser, I believe. Maybe he didn't have a laser. He had like some kind of red dot optic on it. He had a weird stock on it. It was like one of these 3, one of these 2 in the towards the back. I think he had this one on, M13 Charlie stock on it. He had you know, maybe something like this, and the I think it was he had set up his M13 Bravo like an M13 Charlie, and I don't know why he did that. He may have not had the Charlie unlocked, but in this configuration, it's really, and he didn't. And the most important thing he did was he did not add an extended mag on there, so he only had 30 rounds. So I picked this thing up not knowing what attachments were on it in the middle of a fight, thinking that I could, you know, immediately start using it, and I picked this thing up, and I start trying to kill bots with it, you know, look for his other teammates, and it was bad. I basically just switched to my SMG, back to my SMG, and used that for the rest of the team fight. We did end up surviving that team fight and winning out, but in this configuration, this is exactly what you don't want to do to your AR. I was talking earlier about a 50% accuracy is a really good rating. That's a good combat effective rating, and so what that means is that you're only getting about half the rounds in your mag into translating that into effective shots on target. So with a 30 round mag, your you're only able to effectively use, you know, about 15 of those shots. So it's this 30 round mag is effectively a 15 round mag. And what I'll do is I'll just lower my game volume a little bit, and I'll go back into firing range, and I'll just standing up here, I'll so as you can see, you can get a break and even a down with a 30 round mag, but I'm not completely locked in here, and these guys aren't moving, and they're not shooting back. But I would be getting about a 50% accuracy. And this counter up in the top left is a little inflated because I'm, you know, just shooting at stationary targets. And the red dot, the sight picture is good, but if you can see, the ADS time is just a bit slower than what it would be with irons, even with a very lightweight red dot like this one. So the longer it takes for you to sight in and complete your sight picture, the longer it takes for you to accurately get shots on target. And with this short barrel on here, and with this N13 Charlie stock, you're with the stock, you're getting more mobility, but you're getting less recoil control. And with the short barrel, you're getting even less bullet velocity and damage range. Let's see if we can work on this third guy here. So there I'm only able to get a break. I'm about at a 50% accuracy. And when I transition to, that guy was already broken when I started shooting him. And even then, when I transitioned to this guy, I don't even think I broke him. Yeah, he's just now he's broken. So that 30 rounds and only a break on that guy was already broken, but I missed a few shots on him. And then as I transition over here and start putting shots on this guy, I'm missing even more shots because he's further away, and I only am able to get a break on him, not a down. So, you know, even if you leave a guy with 1 HP, he's still able to do 100% damage back to you. He can still do full damage. So that threat is not neutralized until he's either knocked or completely dead. And even in a knocked state, the guy can still live ping you. He can still call you out to his buddies. He's still distracting you. You're still trying to secure that finish, so you're still effectively wasting ammunition on him. Even though he's not able to do any damage to you in a down state, he can still relay information to his team, so he's still a threat to you. So I'm able to down this third guy, uh, breaking down him. But when I transition over to this guy, he's still not even broken. And then this guy is fully plated over here. So I've got two guys that are still doing damage to me, um, and a third guy that's able to continue to relay information to his other two teammates. And that's because the weapon is not set up properly. Um, it has, even less recoil because of the stock recoil control. It has a slow sight picture because of the red dot. It has limited damage range and bullet velocity because of the short barrel. Um, you only have 15 rounds to play with here because of the 30 round mag with a you know a 50% accuracy rating. And the only good thing going for it was the suppressor, which gives you a little bit of that damage range and bullet velocity back. But that's basically the same as not of not having either the barrel attachment or the suppressor. It's kind of canceling out that nerf that you're getting from the barrel. So this guy was running with like a -1, a -2 attachment gun, -3 attachment gun. So he's doing, you know, and this guy didn't. I managed to, uh, you know, shoot this guy like as he's rolling in on the top of a vehicle, and I'm able to, put damage out onto him, and he didn't even get a shot off on me using this AR. But even if he did, he may have missed every single round. Um, I was uh, probably about 20 meters away from him, maybe more, maybe like 25 meters away from him, and I was able to uh, fully break and down him with an SMG. And it was a contraband SMG that I was using, so it wasn't even one that I had set up, but I had ran it for a couple rounds prior, so I did have a little bit of familiarity with how it behaved, and that particular SMG, a lot of guys like to set it up that way, so um, I did have some, uh, I'd picked up the exact same SMG off of a different guy, maybe a couple days earlier. So I had a couple raids under my belt with that SMG, and this may be a rifle that this guy carries all the time. This might be his main setup, and I was able to kill him with somebody else's SMG that I had only just started using against, and this guy didn't even get a single shot off me just because of my positioning and my accuracy with that SMG at a range that it uh, really was not intended to be used for, at a much further range. Um, SMGs are a close range weapon. They're going to be used in that 10 to 15 to maybe 20 meter range, but certainly not at 30 meters or beyond. But that guy died because, partly because it was mainly his positioning at the time and my superior positioning. But another reason that guy died was because his AR was set up so poorly, and picking this thing up and trying to start using it in the middle of a fight almost got me killed too. Um, and like I said, I didn't even I opt like trying to kill. I was able to kill one bot with it, and I had to go into a reload, and at that point I was like, okay, this thing is unusable. It's not even worth it. I'm just going to switch back to the SMG and do the rest of the work um, with my SMG, and we won the fight accordingly. So so this is how he had his AR set up, and I'm going to just quickly show you, um, my preferred setup on this AR. So the first thing I'm going to do is, at a workbench, you have to work in priority order. You have to start taking off attachments that are hurting you first, as that's the quickest and most cost-effective thing to do. It doesn't cost you anything to delete or remove attachments. Um, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the optic, which gives me my an even faster ADS time and a very clean, good sight picture. I'm going to delete the stock option, which gives me a little bit worse mobility, but not much worse, not enough to matter. And most importantly, it gives me that recoil control and aiming stability back. I'm going to delete the barrel option, which gives me a longer barrel, which gives me more damage range and bullet velocity. It will hamper my movement a little bit, but again, not enough to matter. And I actually want not only this barrel, but even a longer barrel on this particular weapon, because its damage was nerfed through updates, some time ago, and the game will never be updated again. So I just know that I need the extra damage range and bullet velocity that a longer barrel will give me on this particular weapon. And I'm also going to delete any other extraneous, attachments like this rear grip option. So right there, I've got already a much better weapon. I'm going to leave the suppressor on there, even though it's not my preferred suppressor. I would prefer to run something like this Echoless 80. It's going to give the Echoless versus the mono, the gauge 9. We're going to gain a little bit more range. We're going to gain a little bit more damage range and bullet velocity. And we're going to gain mobility as well. So you're getting higher damage and actually more mobility by using an Echoless 80 versus the monolithic, the gauge 9 mono. Um, so, but just in the spirit of keeping with this, in an in-game repair situation, we're just gonna not worry about that suppressor for now. And so, all right, I've deleted all of my bad attachments, all the ones that are not giving me anything, that are actually taking away performance. So what's the first thing that I need to do to this weapon? The very first thing that I need to add to this weapon is going to be my 60 round mag. And so again, I was talking earlier about your 50% accuracy. Your even if you're locked in, you're going to be missing about half your shots under ideal conditions. So that 60 round mag is going to give me 30 usable rounds of damage into a guy, whereas before we were only working with a 30 round mag, 15 effective bullets. So we're going to get double the bullets with this 60 round mag, going up from 15 effective rounds to 30 effective rounds. We're also going to the next thing beyond the mag, which is the most important thing, is we're going to add a long barrel, a 14-inch barrel, which will give us damage range, bullet velocity, recoil control, and a little bit of hip fire accuracy. And the most important things here are going to be that damage range, bullet velocity, and of course recoil control is always nice, but mainly it's for the damage range and bullet velocity. We are going to be losing a little bit of ADS time and a little bit of movement, but it's going to be worth that trade-off, and the movement debuff is not going to be enough to matter really with the AR, because if you have your AR in your hands, you're most likely trying to put shots down range, and you're most likely ADS. You're not using an AR in a hip fire capacity, and you're not using your AR as your movement tool. That's what your fists are for. That's what your pistol is for, and that's what your SMG is for. Um, it's a smaller, lighter weapon that's going to give you better mobility. So you're using your lightweight weapons as your movement tools, and um, as much as you're using them to do damage close range. So the first thing we've added is our mag, which gives us double the amount of effective rounds we can put into the target. We've added our long barrel, which will increase the overall damage of the weapon, increase its effective range, and I think that's all I was able to do at the workbench. Um, we were pressed for time. We were having to move to a different team fight. We had a light helo at the time, so I wasn't going to waste my time and my team's time and kind of ruin the tempo by completely perfectly tuning out the weapon. So that's the weapon in the state that I was able to use it for the rest of the round and the state that I extracted it in. But next time, if I bring it in, if all of my insureds are down and I have to start dipping into my contraband stash, uh, I can immediately start using the weapon in this state and only 3 out of 5 attachments. Um, so going back to the gunsmith, so how would I really perfect this weapon? How would I tune it out? So in priority order again, we've added our mag first and our barrel second to give us more rounds and to put those rounds, uh, to increase the damage of those rounds. And then I'm going to get even more damage with bullet penetration by adding our armor piercing rounds. And I use those on every AR. On all ARs, I'll use the armor piercing ammo type. And that's so you can shoot through hard cover. And with an AR, you're always fighting from the outside in a building. You're never using your AR on the inside of a building, trying to clear tight spaces, stairwells, things like that. It's just not doing enough damage. Even if it has a high fire rate, that damage ramp up doesn't come until you start getting into its sweet spot, which is usually about, you know, 10 to 15 meters and beyond. Um, so we've got more bullets. We can put those bullets out to a longer distance, and now we've got the ability to shoot those bullets through things into people that thought they were safe behind cover. So we've got our, and we also have kept our suppressor on there, even though it's not the perfect suppressor. We still do have a suppressor on there, which gives us even more damage range and bullet velocity. So the damage range is self-explanatory, but a bullet velocity will put those rounds into the target even faster. It'll reduce the guy's ability to counterplay you, to reposition, to plate up, to figure out where those shots are coming from and fire back. So it just limits his time. Um, and so finally, what I would put on this weapon to top it off is an ADS laser, something like the 7 milliwatt VLK, and that's going to give me ADS time, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed. So I'm going to gain back some of that ADS time we're losing from using our extended barrel and our suppressor. And I'm also going to get aiming stability and sprint to fire speed. And what that is aiming stability is how much that front sight post, which is where your actual bullets are going to land, how much that kind of floats around. And you can see it kind of floating around in the center of this guy's chest right now. It's going up, it's going down slightly, it's going back to center, it's going down to the right, up a little bit, going back to center. So that laser will limit that kind of, I'm exaggerating this here, just moving my aiming stick around, but this is what your aiming stability is doing here. It's kind of as your character model breathes, and just is naturally holding this thing, he's not going to be, a laser turret. He's not going to be able to hold it perfectly still. So that laser will help our ADS time, bringing our sight picture up completely, and it'll help that stability when we're locked into ADS fully. It's going to help keep that front sight post exactly where you want it to be. And as you can see here, this isn't the fastest ADS time, and that's because of our long barrel and our suppressor at the end of this weapon. But I need those things on this weapon to do the type of damage that I'm relying on with an AR, and putting that damage out to a range that I'm supposed to be able to get with an AR. So that's the weapon in its final form, is going to be a 60 round mag, as with all ARs, um, the armor piercing ammo type as with all ARs, and and the key points on this particular weapon is you have to put that long barrel on, and you have to use a suppressor to get every ounce of damage you can possibly squeeze out of this weapon. And to mitigate for the time loss that we're getting, our handling characteristics from the ADS time loss, we're going to mitigate that with an ADS laser, the 7 milliwatt laser. And that is the best way to set up the M13 Bravo. I don't find that any of the stock options are worth it. These don't give you anything. Um, if anything, these are taking away from the weapon's potential. I don't find any of the rear grip options worth it. Um, flinch resistance is nice, but you only have 5 attachment slots to play with, so that's really more of a luxury that you can't afford. Recoil control is nice, but as you can see, it takes away from your aiming stability, so that's kind of a useless attachment. It kind of negates itself. And this would be like a mobility attachment. It gives you sprint to fire speed and ADS time, but it takes away from your recoil control. So that's, again, not something you want on a medium to long range weapon like an AR. You're going to need all the recoil control you can get. So that's 2 categories, the stock and the rear grip, that you don't even have to waste an attachment slot on. And the best thing about this weapon is probably its sight picture. It's a really good, clean front sight post, very skinny, and it's surrounded by a large O-ring, and the rear sight post is probably the worst feature. You can lose a guy completely in your rear sight, but just to get around that problem, you just take yourself out of ADS for a second. See, oh, he's down here. Okay, I need to go down here. I've lost the guy. Where is he? Take myself. Oh, there he is, and right back on target. So, um, I don't think, you could, potentially play around with an underbarrel, but you'd have to sacrifice, probably your muzzle device for an underbarrel option. And none of the underbarrel options are going to give you any more damage range. They're all just going to give you some form of aiming stability or recoil control, um, whether it be hip recoil control or ADS. And you don't want to mess with any bipods on a AR. You're going to be running and moving with an AR. You're not going to be setting it up like an LMG, which is another a category of weapons that the stats are just not worth it on that entire category. You can just, you're going to be able to use an AR more effectively than any LMG for its mobility. And the only other underbarrel attachments are like an underbarrel shotgun and a high explosive underbarrel grenade launcher, and the drill charges if you have that unlocked, and another version of a shotgun. So these things just add weight to your weapon. I don't find myself, ever really, that's not completely true. I do want to be able to get more damage through hard cover, but um, as you're using your grenade launcher, like a drill charge grenade launcher, you don't have, you're locked into a completely different aiming system. Um, you can only fire it in a hip fire, basically, with a different reticle, um, and you've also now lost the ability to use to shoot bullets out of your AR when you're in your drill, when you've switched over to your underbarrel grenade launcher. So um, you can always carry drill charges as a lethal deployable. You can always, you can find them in match. You can find grenades, um, stuff like that. So that's a it is an option, but I don't think it's anywhere near the best option. And the best option here is, I found, is actually just no option. Is just to completely ignore the underbarrel slot, as we've ignored the rear grip, the stock, and the optic slots, because we're getting much more out of these other slots: the mag slot, the ammo type slot, the suppressor slot, the barrel slot, and the laser slot. And those are the slots that we are going to want to use on this particular weapon. So let's go. Let's see if we can get a warm up in. And I'm just going to blank slate myself by setting everything to just a basic AR to give me headspace to think about what I want to start warming up with. And let's see. Let's look at our contraband and see. And as I'm picking a weapon to warm up with, to go into match with, I'm also thinking about what secondary I might want to pair with that weapon. So what I start warming up with is what I plan to play with in combination with what I have in my contraband. So in my contraband, I mostly have SMGs and ARs right now. Um, I have a couple launchers, a couple shields, um, and a couple snipers that I'll give away to a teammate that is a sniper that may need one in the future. And so really the ones that I'm going to be using are like these Vaznevs, this Lockman sub, um, the Kastovs, the Hemlocks. Uh, those are probably going to be, since I have the most of those, and that's what I run. Is I run an SMG and AR combination, and that's what I do the majority of my fighting with. That's how I'm going to start setting it up and start warming up. So I see that I have a couple Vels in here, and I've used the Vel a lot in the past, but I got away from it when I started using the Vaznev more. And so I have a lot of experience on the Vaznev, and I'm comfortable with it, but I'm not as comfortable on the Vel anymore. So I'm probably going to start warming up with a Vel as a secondary, and some type of AR as a primary. And I'm seeing that I have a number of Hemlocks here, and the Hemlock is something that I've not used in a while. I haven't brought in intentionally, but it is still a popular weapon. It has one of the highest damage ratings per round of the ARs, even though it only has a 45 round mag max capacity. So I think I'll revisit the Hemlock, and I have a build here with a suppressor. I'm working towards a camo with kills with a suppressor, so I think I'll start using that. And I'll set up a vel here for the secondary, and I do have a couple builds, 5 attachment builds for the vel, but I'm actually going to just take in the weapon with 1 attachment, the mag, and try to rediscover the basic capabilities of the weapon with no extra attachments, nothing to kind of sway my opinion of it, and see how it handles with the one very necessary attachment, which is an extended mag. Comes with 40 rounds, so that's only going to give you 20 effective shots on target. So I'm going to bump that up a little bit and go to 50 rounds, which will give me effectively just 5 more rounds, 25 rounds. But those 5 rounds really do matter, and I think that the 60 round mag option, the biggest mag possible on this particular weapon. It is nice to have 30 effective rounds to play with, but you're getting a lot of movement debuffs with this large, heavy magazine. You're getting reduced movement speed, reduced ADS time, reduced reload quickness, and reduced sprint to fire speed. And all those things are very, very important, especially on an SMG. You are still getting a little bit of a debuff with the 50 round mag, but not as much as with the 60. So I'm actually going to go with the 50 and just give myself a little bit more mobility with this weapon, which is one of the most important characteristics of an SMG, is its mobility. And that's just not just in a gunfight, but when you're running around, dodging bullets, dodging kill streaks, explosions, dodging cars that are trying to run you over. This 50 round could save your life versus a slightly heavier 60 round. Just that couple, inches that you might need to completely get, flattened under a guy's tires. That magazine could be your saving grace there. So that is what I'm going to take in to the firing range to warm myself up with. And so I'm going to practice with this Hemlock and a Vel. And just let me get myself set up here to sit down, get my gaming chair, my gaming position. So the first thing I'm going to do before I even fire any rounds is I'm going to take both my guns out to make sure they're chambered and ready. And I'm going to go wall to wall for some spatial awareness. I'm just going to start running around here. So I'm just doing a tack sprint into a slide, into a 180-degree turn, and I'm trying to get myself perfectly aligned with that 180-degree turn. That one was pretty good. That one was an overshoot. was a dead slide. So I ran and stopped and just crouched instead of sliding like that. Your crouch and your slide button are mapped to the same button, to the same keybind. So if you don't do that movement perfectly, you will get what players call a dead slide, and that's just running and crouching right there. So that is something that'll get you killed if you're trying to slide into or around cover. If you just run there and if you run and crouch, you know, that guy's gonna have a very easy time getting that last little sliver of health on you taken off. And instead of running and sliding into cover, you're going to be shot dead right here in a crouch with your back turned, and this is where your body's going to be for your buddies to find. I think a lot of people just immediately load into the firing range and start doing this. And that's good, but you should be using every square inch of this firing range to practice not only your movement, or not only your aim and your recoil control and all that, but you can use the firing range to practice your movement too. That's a tack sprints into a jump dive, what they will call a dolphin dive. So that's tack sprinting, and kind of you're getting a little bit more distance, and you're able to jump over some obstacles completely with a dolphin dive. And you can also get yourself into a position of low cover very quickly with a dolphin dive. Like say if I were to run and tack slide in here, I would still be exposed up here to this guy, but if I went and wanted to dive under cover, I could have, you know, most of my body, if not all of my body, covered. And this guy probably is only able to see the tippy top of my head, maybe the ends of my feet, if that. And if I can angle my body slightly this way, I might get 100% coverage on all of my body. So if I'm in a broken state or a low health state, I can know that instead of, you know, running over here and then going into a prone, you know, and maybe still getting shot that entire time, or if I'm sliding in here, I'm still have, you know, probably more than half my body's exposed, and especially my head and my chest, which are going to give him damage multipliers. I can run and dive in here, get behind that cover entirely, and then peek up at my leisure to make a defensive movement into an offensive intentional movement. So I go from reaction to proaction. Alright, so now I'll start working on my aim now that I've got myself a little warmed up with my movement, my sense of the space around me. And I'm going to start just going into it, no commentary, to try to get a full warm-up in. So as you can see, as I'm reloading, I'm still trying to make myself as mobile as possible. As you're reloading, you can't sprint. You can sprint, but you're going to stop that reload. And you're going to be caught in that reload forever until that guy finishes your reload. So you're a bit dead in the water when you are reloading. So for that reason, if I am reloading, I'm going to be jumping. I'm going to be trying to angle and swing my body around to change the position of my chest and my head, which are my highest damage multipliers. And as I'm jumping, I'm bringing myself up, and that guy is going to be forced into pelvic or leg shots on me if he keeps that angle. If he's far enough away to where aim assist is not doing most of the work for him, or if he's a PC player where he doesn't have any aim assist, instead of hitting me in my chest and my head, he's going to be, as I'm jumping and moving up, that's effectively moving his front sight post down. And so he's going to be missing shots entirely, or just hitting me in the legs. And that's a much more survivable position to get hit in. So I'm switching back and forth. If I want to get to cover, I can stop that reload for a second by tack sprinting and get to a better position. I can go prone. I can crouch while in a reload, crouch and stand, and I can also jump. And those things, going prone, going to a crouch, and jumping, and just basic walking like this, is going to be enough to help you avoid those critical rounds that are coming in. That's going to help you avoid dying, rather than just standing here out in the open, standing still, reloading, and trying to put shots down range. He's going to be able to shoot you if he's moving, you know, and you're caught in a reload and you're just standing there. You know, he's going to have tracking on you, and you're not in a position to fire any rounds because your mag is out of your gun. I cannot fire right now until I get that mag back in. So you want to always be moving, even when you're even when most of your movement is disabled, even when you're not able to tack sprint without finishing that reload. You can't be reloading and dolphin diving. I can't even tack sprint to get into a dolphin dive if I'm reloading. If I'm just tack sprinting, you can be completing that reload as you're in the middle of a dolphin dive. So if you initiate that reload and say you want to dolphin dive to a position of defilade, like down as the slope of a hill, you can do that, and if you catch it right, you can still be in your reload animation as you're dolphin diving. So I'm going to just continue with the warm-up here. So as you can see, with even though we only have 45 rounds to work with, I can still down all three of these guys with only 45 rounds. I didn't quite get that third guy. But that's because I missed too many shots. I'll do that sequence again. And I did have to use every one of those 45 rounds. But still there I have 6 in the mag left over. Which is enough for another break on one guy. So there I have 10 left over. I was able to use those 6 rounds before a reload to get a break on this first guy, and a complete down, and a complete down with 10 left over. And that guy should just be a couple shots away. He was 1 shot away. So if I had 11 rounds, I would have been able to completely down that guy. And that's why warming up and practicing and becoming familiar with your weapon is so important. So there I had 19 rounds, and I knew even at 30 meters I could probably get a down on that guy if I were able to hit most of my shots, which I did. And I missed a lot of shots on that guy, but he was 5 shots away from a down. So if I hadn't missed as many as I did, I still would have been able to get a down on that guy. And as you play more, you can get a better understanding of what you're able to do even with limited ammunition in your magazine, or limited total ammunition. So let's say I only have, 34 rounds at my disposal, but I have these 3 threats here. That's all I have. I don't have any reserve ammo. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working at the highest threat first, which is my first guy here. He's the biggest target. He's the biggest target for me, so I'm going to have to expend the least amount of ammunition to get accurate shots to down this guy. And I'm the biggest target for him, so he's going to be able to do the same thing for me. So that's why that makes him my highest threat, is that I'm the easiest target for that guy to kill. And then I'm going to move to the second guy over here, and I'm not even going to worry at all about putting any shots on the third guy over there. I'm going to rely on my movement, my positioning, and my damage output on his 2 teammates, and the fact that I'm, at least 30 meters away from him, to, make a priority decision about whether I engage him or not. He might be the most accurate guy on the team at 30 meters away. That might be their highest skilled player, but he's still going to have to do more work to put me down. He's going to have to do more work than his 2 teammates are going to have to do, who are closer, even though they might be lower skilled. They might have worse overall accuracy ratings. So with 34 rounds, I'm pretty confident that even if these guys are moving, and I'll do that, I'll cycle these bots through movement as I'm engaging them, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be able to get at least one of them down with only 34 rounds. So there I was able to get both of them downs, and I had 9 rounds to spare. So let's say both of those guys are down, and I do make a decision about wanting to put damage on this third guy. You know, that's not a break or a down or a kill, but it is some damage into him. I was able to hit maybe all of those 9 rounds into that guy at 30 meters, and just one more bullet would have created a break, which makes him start to immediately have to reassess his position in that gunfight. He has to now decide if he wants to continue to engage me, continue to run, to close the distance on me so that he can be more combat effective against me, or if he wants to take a position of cover or start dodging and weaving and trying to insert armor plates and regain that health back. So right here is what I'm doing is what I call juggling. I'm just quickly tack sprinting in one direction and then turning and then tack sprinting in the other direction rather than a slow strafe walk right here. I'm creating more of a problem for those guys to hit me, and I'm moving at a higher rate by simply just swinging my camera over enough to move in the position that I want to move, to get my camera pointed in the position I want to move with a tack sprint. And that tack sprint is going to be your highest, that's the fastest that you're going to be able to move in game, is that tack sprint right there. And when your stamina is depleted, you'll go into a regular sprint, and you'll keep sprinting like this until you can find a way to get your stamina back up, whether that means stopping for a moment and then re-engaging the tack sprint, or if that means sliding to re-engage your tack sprint. So I'm feeling okay. We're going to see if we can get a squad together. See who's up. I'm just going to blank slate myself again with my insured, give myself more headspace to see if I want to change up the weapons I'm bringing into a live match. I'm going to see if anybody is on. And I think Sleazy and Provoked are playing together. So let's hop in here and see if they want to go into Moz.
Got him.
What's up, boys?
What's up, dude? We're all hacking.
Oh no.
Yeah, we're all hacking, and we got 2 soundboards. You don't want to play with us.
Okay.
We're not hacking. We all wear the same clan tag, that's all. I could hear the ultimate offense in your voice. I didn't want to do that to my preferred friend.
So it's a shame we can't.
Yeah, bro. Alright. I'll catch you later, then. I know. We're weirdos. Bruh.
Oh, good lord.
Come back to me. No, yes, you come here. We're not hacking, but we are full, bro.
All right, I'll get out. I'll see you guys later.
GG's, brother.
GG's. All right, that was some classic sleazy there. Sorry for the soundboard mania. Um, it looked like they were in game, but I thought he might have pulled them out, but I'm not sure what was going on there. But they're probably just running Ashika, or as I like to call it, Cheater Island. Do not go into that map anymore. Just to show you guys the maps, this is my preferred map, Al Mazrah. It's a very, very large map, really excellently designed. One of the best uh, first-person shooter maps I've ever played. I don't think I've ever played besides like games like Battlefield, I've never played on a map this large, and I've definitely never played on a Call of Duty map this large. Um, I'll have to look up the stats later, but it's it's very very big, and and it's very well designed. It all of the every single building uh, in this map is habitable. You can get in it. You can break through windows, go through doors. Um, Many of the buildings are multi-story. Um, uh, it, the map has tons of vehicles that you can use, um, and really good environmental storytelling as well. The All these maps are good, uh, but today the game is not supported, and most of the cheaters and exploiters uh, tend to gravitate towards these first two maps, these smaller maps, Vondel and Ashika. There is a fourth map, Building 21. It's all inside a single building, a multi-story research building. Um, and the thing about fighting in buildings in this game in DMZ, in the state that it's in, is in a building you're going to be dealing with a lot of shotgun users and a lot of riot shield users and a lot of explosive users. And uh, usually this map seems to be the map where all of the really uh, the high level people like to do their PvP. They like to do their close range fighting. Um, they'll be running shotguns, RPGs, RGLs like a grenade launcher. And I do not know my way around this map. And this map is completely filled with you know with like tier 2 and 3 AI, the high armor tiered AI. So um, this, if you want to die, go into Building 21. If you want to lose all your gear, go right into Building 21. Um, Unless, of course, you're a shotgun user. If you like to carry around launchers and explosives and just use the splash damage against the walls and the corridors to kill guys instead of, uh, you know, outplaying them or shooting them outright with normal weaponry. Um, so, and there is a fifth map, uh, Koche Complex, which is underground, which is underneath Al Mazrah. It's themed as like a 60s and 70s, a Cold War era Soviet uh, complex that has um, chemical weapons development. It has a prison. Um, it has these like rooms uh, with data racks, old computers. They really went all out, and the that map is that map is actually my favorite place to regain, even though it's filled with a lot of tier 2 and 3 AI, and it's a lot of it is puzzle solving and stuff. But it's it's my preferred place to regain because there's only, I believe, 3 other teams that can spawn in there with you, and so you have, versus maybe 60 or 70 other people on the top side of Al Mazrah, and it has very good, it's very easy to get uh, all the best armor systems. It has pretty good ground loot weapons, um, things like that. You can still craft yourself kill streaks down there, um, whereas topside on all these other maps, um, you'd have to find them by just luck of the draw by looting a whole bunch. Um, but in Koshé, you can actually intentionally build, kill streaks with materials, so you can always get yourself out looted. And if you play Kosh enough, you'll know your way around. It is a tight map, a tight underground, short corridors, stuff like that. But um, it does also have uh, you can use night vision goggles in it in the main, call it the dark zone. It's completely unlit, so that is another way to kind of outplay your opponents. Um, and I do know my way around there pretty well. So even though I am an AR and SMG user, uh, and I'm not a explosives or a shotgun user, which would come in handy in a map like that. You can still do a lot of work and get yourself out of tight situations, using not top tier loadouts, but if you're using your equipment correctly, if you're using your map knowledge correctly, you can still survive down there pretty well. And I've personally wiped many teams solo in Koshé because of my confidence in the map, because of my map knowledge and just my basic gunfighting skills. And I am not a high level gunfighter. I'm average or maybe just slightly above average, but I've had to work towards that. I was very bad in the beginning of my DMZ career, and my playstyle has changed a lot uh, because I've worked on my gunfighting so much, and I've died a lot because of it. Learning how to fight is going to mean that you're going to learn how to you're only learning from losing fights and analyzing what you did wrong, what you could have done better, and adjusting your play accordingly. But I'm probably going to just load in solo here and start doing some regain runs, um, which is what I call runs when you're going in with the intention of building up your cache and your contraband stash. And I'm going to do a little bit of maintenance here, just maybe get rid of some of these weapons that um, I'm not going to, that I'm either going to have to spend too much time and money on to build out properly, or just weapons that I won't use flat out. So let's see. Do have some things I can destroy to create a little bit of space in my contraband. Um, let's see. These ones are. Yeah, I don't know if I want to hold on to those blackout round hemlocks. Because of a glitch, you can't just replace the ammo type. You'll have to replace both the mag and the ammo type. So to correct one attachment error, you'll have to effectively build 2 attachments to correct 1 mistake, so that is a waste of time and money. Um, so I might delete those. And I think I'm going to hold on to the snipers to be a good teammate, to give those to other people that do like to snipe. Um, so yeah, I think I'm just going to go ahead and delete this one. And let's see if I can find another unusable weapon to delete. That's another one right there, the overpressured 300 blackout. The 300 blackout rounds they're more punchy close range, but it reduces your fire rate. They fire at a slower, the rounds fire at a slower rate, and the damage range, and most importantly the bullet velocity, are really bad on 300 blackout. So um, that's not what you want for an AR. You want the most damage range and bullet velocity you can possibly get out of an AR. And you're not going to want to use an AR as an SMG unless it's something like a Kastov 74U, which is a good hybrid weapon between an SMG and an AR. That's why I have so many of these things, because I'm trying to avoid that hand glitch, so I'll sometimes only take in one weapon. Especially if I'm naked, I'll always take in one weapon instead of 2. So now I've got almost 10 slots to play with, and I think I'll keep going on the Hemlock just because I was warming up on it earlier, and I'd like a little bit more experience with it, and I still have to work on those suppressed kills with the Hemlock for a camo. So I think I'll take that in, and should I take in an SMG? I probably should, since I'm going to be going in solo. Let's see. We'll take in a Nakedville for the mobility that it affords me. I'll probably be able to throw on a 50 round mag at some point if I can get enough cash up. I am pretty limited on cash, so I think I'm only going to bring in $2,000 just for a full rack of plates, and I'm going to be coming in with a stealth plate, so that should help my survivability as a solo. And just in case we spawn on the north side of the map, we'll take in an L2 card for Koche, so that we can have a safer escape route and more cash to extract with, and possibly some better ground loot weapons to find in the restricted zones. And let's see if we can get some fun missions on here. And let's do a solo regain run. And what I'll do is I'll go into Maz, which also gives me access to Koche Complex, and I'll maybe try to go for the Chemist, and I'll maybe try to go for the high-rise tack if I can get a couple good spawns if I can get a good spawn for either of those objectives, and if not, then I'll go right into Kosh. And as I load into the game, I'm going to boost my in-game audio back to 100% to give me better audio cues. But you'll have a harder time hearing me, so don't try to turn up your headphones or your speakers to hear my voice, because you'll just get louder and louder game audio. So I'm going to turn up my in-game audio now, so just turn down your headphones a little bit. We'll see what our spawn is here.
Welcome to Al Mazrah. Explore, secure intel, and loot to gain access to new missions. Enemy threat is high, so expect contact. Intel located a weapons case in the area. We're tracking it on your TAC map now. Be advised a heavily armored target is guarding it, so expect contact.
So we're going for the high-rise TAC. No bots up here, thankfully. Got it. I'm gonna jump into Kosh from here. Actually, you know, we do have a buy station. We'll quickly try to fix up this high-rise TAC. Get some plates. Ultra One, an enemy Bashara is headed your way. Jug might be down here already. Team coming in on us top side. Try to jump in here real quick. At a pretty big disadvantage, just being by myself. could have camped that coach entrance. They were likely trying to run for the coach entrance like I was, but I didn't consider that until I was loading in, and I also, you know, I didn't know how many of them there were, and I also don't really want to be an exfil camper, but I probably could have taken that fight on the other side of this entrance here.
Ultra One, we've lost signal on your location.
So I have 2 self-revives. I'm going to keep that self-revive in the first slot, so when I open up my bag I can immediately cycle to it. Got a free muni box right here. Go ahead and do the same thing. I'll stash that in one of my first slots so I can immediately go to it. I'll carry that Deddy. I think I'll keep this stealth vest. Switch it for battle rage or bot control. You have another selfie. I know there are some bots on the other side of this door. Looking for AP rounds down here. Attack here. Might want to pick that up, but might just go ahead and sacrifice my secured for that. But it is only a 30-round tack, so I think I'll change my mind. I do have another AR there, but it's not one of my preferred ARs. I have a Lockman sub. I might want to switch to that. It's only 30 rounds. I'll have acidic acid certificate black. Got my formaldehyde there. Just gonna keep that there to save backspace and remember where it was. Do you have some nods there? Which I'll probably want to pick up formaldehyde, acidic acid, cervitate black. Let's see. Drop one of these munis for it. Let's see.
there's increased enemy activity. Ultra One, you've got hostile reinforcements incoming. Increased in the area. Keep your eyes open.
As I'm replating, I'm trying to shoulder this angle here to get intel of what's in front of me, rather than just replating with my back turned or completely behind cover. If I see a guy pop out there, I know what's coming. I'm gonna close these doors. Just to give myself a little bit of cover on this angle. Complexes, very tight spaces.
Ultra
so
One, be advised,
SMG's
threats are moving into the area.
A lot of work here. Some of that ammo. Set that proxy there where those bots are going to spawn back in from. Guy right there, I saw that bot, but
Ultra One, be advised, hostile activity. Ultra One, you've got hostile reinforcements incoming.
cables to restore power to get out of here. I've already dropped the jumper cables, and the car battery is probably down here somewhere. Right there. Myself access to the buy. The key for factory admin is going to be in these crates here. Reload cancel.
Ultra One, activity is increasing near your location. Stay alert.
She is. This is my preferred door. I'm actually gonna go back for my
around!
Ultra One, be advised. Reinforcements incoming. Ultra One, be advised. Hostile activities increasing in the area.
More of those guys behind me. Back to a safe position so I can re-engage my nods. Go right into factory admin here. spawn to get another set of jumper cables and battery. But before that, I'm going to loot around here a little bit and maybe even my exfil, one of the restricted zones. There's a decoy grenade right there.
Ultra One, there's increased enemy activity. Ultra One, you've got hostile reinforcements incoming. Ultra One, we're seeing increased activity in the area. Stay sharp. Ultra One, be advised. Hostile activity. Ultra One, you've got hostile reinforcements incoming.
Enough! You're driving away the customers. Hold your fire. Get back to business. That's your common gear and equipment. Other station.
Ultra One, actual. High winds are increasing in the AO. Move to an extract point before radiation spreads.
sell that. And
المكان هذه هنا.
sell that and hit exfil. Sell bots.
Hey, at least buy something first. That'd be good for me. Hold your fire. It's time for business.
Plates. Let's try to these guys. That's where
Ultra One, actual. Radiation is spreading through the area. Advise moving to an extract point.
behaving as if there are players breathing down my neck.
All Ultra, communications resecured. Work down there.
Alright, got out with some decent cash. Got 3 contraband, sacrificed one of my insureds for it, but I will get that back. ensured I dropped was a 15-minute cooldown bundle, so I will have that back in 15 minutes. And I use that on my highest cooldown slot, my 3-hour slot, so that's a really good, efficient use of resources right there. Got out with it should have been a 5 attachment Vel, but may only be 3 attachments. Was able to find a fresh key, or actually it was only a 2-use key, but that key I brought in would have been broken, so I do have 1 free turn now since I swapped out those keys. I could have backtracked all the way to my spawn, picked up that extra key for, but you're working with such limited bag space as a solo that I just opted for more plates and ammo in those inventory slots. Came in with, I believe this is one of the naked Vils I came in with. I might have found this in Kosh, but this was the high-rise tack, and all I had to do was just take off that thermal optic and make this into a very effective, usable weapon immediately at that workbench when I was topside in Al Mazrah, and was able to sneak in that workbench modification very quickly and just buy some extra plates before. And as you can see, I was getting collapsed on by that guy in the UTV on top side that was probably running into the same Koche entrance that I was using. So that's an example of just knowing how to use your workbench and building and repairing a weapon in priority order. And I came out alive with a bunch of cash. I was only, I think I had maybe, I don't know, like 18,000 or something at the beginning, and now I have almost 300,000. That's basically half my wallet refilled right there in just that one run. And any exfil you do in Kosh, a successful survival is going to give you a kill streak. You'll also get a kill streak if you successfully exfil from any of the other maps after you complete a contract. But down in Kosh there are no contracts, so just simply surviving will allow you to gain that passive perk upgrade to your character that you'll lose upon death. And Bomb Squad is a really good first perk to have to take reduced damage from explosives, and that's always a bonus. There's always tons of things exploding all around you, and so that's going to save your armor plates and just going to save you from getting down and killed. A lot more survivability with that perk. And I'll just show you this, the repaired high-rise tack that I was able to take out. And so that's a 4 out of 5 attachment gun. The 5th attachment was that optic, the thermal optic, and we just quickly deleted that to give us back our iron sight picture, the best in the game. And it has that 60 round mag, so 30 effective rounds to put into a guy. It has the extended barrel and the suppressor, so that's going to give you the most damage range and bullet velocity possible. And it also has an underbarrel, which just gives you a little bit more aiming stability and recoil control. And that's a really good, weapon in that state. It's, even though it's not maxed out on attachment slots, I would from here I would just add the armor piercing rounds as I do on all my ARs. If I just wanted to spend the time and money on one more upgrade, And if I really wanted to, I've been lately experimenting with taking away the underbarrel attachment, the the, the angled foregrip, the F-tac ripper, and replacing that with a ADS laser. So it's going to increase, it's going to give you back some of that ADS time you're losing from the barrel and the suppressor, and it's going to increase your aiming stability as well. So it just makes the weapon a little bit snappier, and since you're taking away that angled foregrip and replacing it with a laser, that gives you a little bit of a mobility boost as well, which is always good on any weapon. And just in the time I was taking to talk to you guys, we've already burned, almost half of that cooldown time because I was using a 15-minute cooldown weapon. So I'll have that up very shortly. And yeah, and so I got, I got 3 more weapons that I put into my contraband stash. One of them is already 4 out of 5 attachments. It's already very usable. And if we can find one of the, I think it was probably this one. Yeah, this 3 attachment Vel. This is a very common ground loot weapon you'll find in Kosh in those military lockers, those green foot lockers on the ground. And it most importantly already has that 50-round mag, and it has a compensator on it, so that just boosts your recoil control a little bit more. It does have an optic on it, but I would recommend taking away that optic and giving you back those iron sights, which on the Vel are very clean. Can show you the difference between let's see if I can find the exact optic that comes on this thing as a ground loot weapon. It's something like, let's see, I think it's something like this one. And I'll go ahead and set up just a basic Vel. And I'll show you the difference between the sight picture. So this is as it would come as a ground loot weapon, and it has a clear, window with a red dot there, but it has these, any optic is going to have some obscurity on the sides and on the top and the bottom where the housing of the optic is, where that glass is held up. And so, even at 10 meters, you can fully lose a guy in your own optic. And if you have just the irons on there, it's a much clearer, cleaner sight picture. And the only confusion that you might have is the rear dots on the sights and the front dot on that front sight being the same color, but that's, I think that the ADS time that you're getting in that clearer sight picture is definitely worth that risk that you're taking with those dot color confusions, that potential. So if you go in to snap onto a guy and you're not quite there, you're just a little bit off, you could lose him entirely, and that could really confuse you. And you're going to be wasting time, trying to get him in the middle of your sight picture. And sometimes, as you can see with the colors and the lighting, that red dot actually kind of blends in with this guy's plate carrier a little bit. So you can kind of lose track of exactly where that red dot is, but that's not going to be a problem on an iron sight setup. You just have that front post, so, and especially when you start firing, it's going to be very clear and distinct where those rounds are hitting. And that red dot optic is going to give you a little bit of a higher zoom as well, which is not something that you really need on an SMG. And it kind of throws off your aim a little bit too, because that zoom is going to affect your sensitivity, your perceived sensitivity. So that's why I prefer that iron sight picture. As you can see, you kind of zoom in quite a bit with that red dot, whereas you're zooming very, very minimally with that iron sight. And that's kind of like a little bit of like a motion sickness thing too. Like you're kind of like really craning your neck to get into that sight picture, which is not something that's happening on the iron sight setup. And again, every optic you put on is going to make your ADS that much slower, especially if it's a bigger, heavier optic. So there I'm just instantly able to snap onto that guy, whereas here I have to account for, you know, losing him in the sights, the red dot itself blending into him, and that zoom factor, which will throw off your sensitivity, your overall aim. So I'm going to just blank slate myself again for a clean setup. And looks like Sleazy's still playing on Cheater Island. Provoked is free. But I'm going to take care of something IRL, and I should be back. I may call it here for the night, but I do want to try to run some PvP rounds here. So thanks for tuning in for this one. I hope you learned something here, and I'll catch you very shortly in the next one.